Angel Reese gets traded to Atlanta, calls herself a point forward and a star, and then proceeds to get destroyed on live TV in her Atlanta Dream debut versus the Minnesota Lynx. The starters of her entire team outscored her just to squeak past a Minnesota Lynx squad, missing their best player. And the crowd, the Target Center fits 19,000 people and only 10,000 showed up to watch her smoke layups on live television. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is selling out arenas coast to coast. The contrast couldn't be more brutal, and we're breaking down every ugly second of that Atlanta Dream debut right now. Did the Atlanta Dream make a mistake in trading for Angel Reese? Let me know down in the comments below that I want all the smoke. All the smoke. So, who's the best player in the country? To the media or me? As you see it, I feel like I'm the best player in the country. Angel Reese spent the entire off-season telling anyone who would listen that she was evolving into a point forward, a player who could handle the ball, push pace, and create offense. And then she walked into Target Center on May 9th and posted 11 points on roughly 35% shooting while racking up 5 turnovers in a 1-point win over a Minnesota team that was already playing without Enfisa Collier. Day 1, baby. Here we are back. Come on. Give us what we need. Don't run. Give us what we need. We are so bad. So, let's talk about what a point forward actually is because it matters here. A point forward is someone like LeBron James or Scottie Pippen. A big player who can genuinely initiate offense, push the ball in transition, and make decisions under pressure at the top of the key. It's not a label you just pick up because you want more touches. You earn it by doing the actual work. And the actual work involves not turning the ball over 5 times in your debut, not getting stuffed twice, and definitely not compressing your own team's spacing by planting yourself at the top of the key, while Atlanta's pace and space system suffers around you. Reese kept pushing that point forward identity all off-season because it repositions her from a limited post-core into something that sounds like a primary piece. But May 9th answered the question of whether she's actually that player. Angel Reese Part 1 Volume 3. Let's get it. I love fundamentals. How about a layup 3 built like a tree going to the sky hook without a look? Bang. Meow. Progress. She learned how to pass. Free throws. No, those are fake throws. No, keep the mother safe. Not on Mother's Day. Frag out. Book her a window seat because that's traveling. She didn't just shoot poorly. Reese turned it over 5 times and still kept bringing the ball up the court, which is the exact habit Atlanta's system needed her to drop. And she didn't drop it. Getting blocked twice in that same game only sharpens the story. One of those blocks came from Kayla McBride, which is bad enough, but the other one came from Olivia Miles, a rookie playing her first regular season WNBA game. Let that sit for a second. You spend the whole offseason rebranding yourself as a playmaking forward. You walk into your debut and a rookie in her own debut swats your shot. That's not nerves. That's a scouting report coming true in real time. Caller Spirit Airlines caused that layup package cease to exist. It's bankrupt. One more free throw. How about it? No. Soft touch, sweet finish. We call that bottom. Elbow to the back of the neck. Jail prison burn at the line. It's time to shine. Psych. For every missed layup this season, we're donating 1 brick. We're building cities. On the line down 1, 30 seconds to go. Angel Reese for the win. This wasn't a Onim surprise. Go back to the preseason. Against the Washington Mystics, Reese shot 3 for 7, 10 points. Quiet and limited. Against the Chicago Sky, she shot 2 for 7, 8 points, and then walked out of the post-game press conference laughing at the Sky, the franchise she just left. She sat there mocking them while shooting 28.66% from the field. So, the confidence and the production were already running in completely opposite directions before the regular season even started. That press conference moment is worth staying on because a week after she laughed at Chicago, she went out and shot nearly the same percentage in her Atlanta debut. The karma there isn't subtle at all. She left the Sky. She told everyone she was leveling up. She giggled at her old team on camera. And then she went 4 for 111 in Minnesota against a short-handed Lynx squad. Coach Carl Smisko described her debut as her just trying to kind of feel her way around a little bit with first-game nerves, which is the diplomatic way of saying she was a liability for most of the night before a late block and an offensive rebound kept Atlanta alive at the end. She was just trying to kind of feel her way around a little bit. Maybe first-game nerves with us, but then just like she is, she's a total competitor. When the game came to the end and we needed a play, she made it. And I'm not surprised at all she's that type of person. And about that, Smisko also called her a total competitor who came up big at the biggest moments. And yes, The late block happened, but you don't get credit for cleaning up the mess your turnovers helped create and call it a star performance. Every single starter on Atlanta's roster outscored Reese that night. Alicia Gray outscored her. Ryan Howard outscored her. Naz Hillman outscored her. Jordan Canada outscored her. The player who called herself a star finished at the bottom of her own team's scoring column against a Lynx team without its best player. And those teammates are the reason Atlanta won at all. While Reese was busy turning the ball over and getting stuffed in her own debut. Alicia Gray, Ryan Howard, Naz Hillman, and Jordan Canada were the ones actually running an offense and keeping Atlanta in a game they had no business nearly losing. Let's talk about the numbers because they tell you everything you need to know about who actually won this game for the Dream for Minnesota. A minute to go in the first quarter as Reese working from the perimeter. The spin move clearly could have just got to the basket for the layup, but they want that three-point shot. Miles throws it away. A 2-1 for Reese who gallops to the rim. Can't finish. Here is Howard slicing, leaving it for Reese. She can't convert on the laying. Gray dropped 24 points with 16 of those coming in the second half, which is the only reason Atlanta was even in a position to close that game out. She admitted afterward that her teammates kept pushing her through a rough first half, telling her, "You've got it, and your shots are going to fall. Continue being aggressive and continue doing you." And she responded by going off when it actually mattered. Howard finished with 15 points. Hillman put up 15 of her own and Canada added 12. So every single starter on Atlanta's roster outscored the player the Dream gave up 2 first-round picks to acquire. That's the full picture right there. 4 players doing the actual work while Reese posted 11 points and 5 turnovers against a short-handed Minnesota team. And another opportunity for the Dream Ray. She also misfires and an offensive rebound by Reese who's a wrecking ball inside. Gets her own miss again. This is starting to have some time. Reese inside on the attack blocked by Kosu who leaped for the swap poked away. Coach Smemesco described Reese's debut as her weathering a slow start and refocusing, which sounds like a compliment until you realize he's just describing a player who spent most of the game as a liability and then grabbed a rebound near the end. That's diplomatic coaching speak for we needed her to stop hurting us. Atlanta built this roster around spacing and ball movement, and Reese's habit of planning at the top of the key and forcing possessions ran directly against everything Smemesco designed this offense to do. Now, flip to the Minnesota side because this is where the contrast gets genuinely painful for the Reese camp. Kayla McBride scored 18 points on a Lynx team already missing Nafisa Collier. So, Minnesota wasn't exactly rolling out there with nothing. Says maybe Simone Augustus. Yes, Simone Augustus, if you are watching tonight, please and assisted there as well as McBride along too. Doesn't touch any NBA in total threes. Here's McBride turning a corner. Another mid-range to the Suns. She's got 4 in the front court. And so the Lynx identity will look different right now. It'll look different in June and probably after that, but right now in this second quarter, the Lynx looking to respond on this possession here as McBride fading. But the real story on that side of the court was rookie Olivia Miles, who finished with 21 points, 8 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks in her first regular season WNBA game. That performance put Miles in the 5th time in WNBA history that a player recorded 20-plus points and 5-plus assists in their debut. A rookie, first game ever, 21 points and 8 assists. Picture this. 2 players making their regular season debuts in the same building on the same night and one of them is being talked about as a historic first game performance while the other one is getting blocked by that same rookie and turning the ball over 5 times. Miles never played a regular season WNBA minute before May 9th and she still outperformed the player Atlanta traded 2 first-rounders to bring in that exact building on that exact night. That's not a small thing. But that's not all because the final score of 91-90 is what really puts everything in context. A full-strength Atlanta Dream team with Gray and Howard and Hillman and Canada all healthy and producing nearly lost to a Minnesota Lynx team playing without its best player. They won by 1.1. And the reason they even needed it to be that close is because Reese's 5 turnovers and 29% shooting kept handing Minnesota possessions back throughout the game. Gray's second-half explosion bailed the Dream out. Not anything Reese produced offensively. Smemesco's team won, sure, but they won despite their marquee acquisition, not because of her. And a 1-point escape against a Coriolis Lynx squad is not the debut performance that backs up a whole off-season of point-forward branding. About 10,000 people showed up to Target Center that night to watch it all happen, which in a 19,000-seat arena means nearly half the building decided they had better things to do than watch Angel Reese's big debut. 10,000 people showed up to Target Center on May 9th for Angel Reese's regular season debut. And that building holds 19,000. So do the math. Nearly half the arena sat empty for the game that was supposed to announce her as a star in a new city. And Minnesota fans simply decided they'd rather stay home. That's not bad luck or a scheduling conflict. That's the market answering the question of how much people actually want to watch Angel Reese play basketball right now. I think this is fantastic for Atlanta or for visibility. I meant it when I said Atlanta's going to be lit, not just on the court, but off the court. They do a great job at the Gateway Center of selling out tickets, but like they're gonna be able to move games to State Farm Arena where the Hawks play now because of the Angel Reese effect. The what? Come again. The Angel Reese effect. What in the hell is the Angel Reese effect? And it's not just a Minnesota thing. Atlanta's home court, the Gateway Center Arena, holds around 3,000 people. And even that tiny building had open rows during Reese's preseason appearances with the Dream. Let's put that in perspective. 3,000 seats is a mid-sized high school gym by NBA standards, and Reese couldn't fill it. So, the empty seat problem followed her from Chicago to Atlanta and then up to Minneapolis. And the pattern isn't subtle. Now, imagine what Caitlin Clark does to arenas because the contrast is pretty stark. Clark doesn't just sell tickets. She sells out buildings. She moves road attendance numbers. She gets opposing teams' home crowds showing up specifically to watch her play. That's been a documented pattern through the entire 2024 and 2025 season, and it's carrying right into 2026. When Indiana Fever road games are drawing record crowds in other teams' buildings, that's not marketing. That's a player people genuinely want to see. And fans vote with their wallets and their time. Last weekend, Caitlin Clark was in New York City to play the New York Lesbians. Over 14,000 people paid to see the Great White Hoe. If I remember correctly, another 700,000 watched Caitlin Clark on TV. Unfortunately for Angel Reese, the citizens of Chicago, they were not the only ones who were unwilling to welcome her home. Her former teammate Camila Cardoso, she welcomed Angel Reese home by dominating the queen of stat padding on the court. Part of why Clark connects with fans the way she does comes down to how she carries herself off the court. She shows up to press conferences. She answers questions. She treats media availability as part of the job. And fans pick up on that accountability. Reese publicly said she'd take a fine rather than speak to reporters, which tells you everything about how differently these two players approach that side of the game. Fans trust Clark partly because she shows up and talks, win or lose, and that trust translates directly into ticket sales. The Chicago trade context fits right in here. The Sky moved Reese for 2 future first-round picks in 2027 and 2028 and a second-round pick swap in 2028. And that return got widely described as underwhelming for a 2-time All-Star. That's not a haul for a franchise cornerstone. That's a team prioritizing ending a situation over getting full value for a player. And insider reports described the locker room environment as deteriorating before the trade, with teammates calling her annoying. Stars don't get that kind of exit review. They traded away Angel Reese and then said, "We're going in. We're going in right here, right now." Had to get her off the team to get these players to come here. Chicago then turned around and built a completely different team, bringing in Skylar Digdon-Smith, Don Carrington, Azora Stevens, and Rakia Jackson to create a ball movement offense built on flow and trust. The whole point of that roster construction wasn't just to add talent. It was to remove the friction Reese created and replace it with something that actually functions. The Sky didn't trade a player. They traded a problem and replaced it with a system. The truth is, Angel Reese has never been a star basketball player. I'm not saying she's the drizzling shits, but Angel Reese has never been a star, and she has never been a winner in her brief WNBA career. Angel Reese is the queen of empty stats. She's one of the best players in the league in garbage time. When the Chicago Bravado were down 30 points with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Angel Reese knows it's time to clock in and start dominating. So now Reese is in Atlanta laughing at the Chicago Sky in her last press conference as a Sky player. And Chicago is out here rebuilding with a cleaner locker room while she's trying to sell a new fan base on the point forward brand in a 3,000-seat arena with open rows on a Tuesday night. She sat on camera and giggled at the franchise she just left. And that franchise responded by not looking back once. Meanwhile, Reese walked into Target Center, drew half a crowd, shot 29%, turned it over 5 times, and needed her teammates to bail her out by 1 point against a Lynx team that wasn't even at full strength, which is a rough way to introduce yourself to a city that was already only half paying attention. 3 games in, Reese shot 2 for 7 against Chicago, 3 for 7 against Washington, and 4 for 11 in her actual debut. And she's entering her 3rd professional season, still shooting from her hip like nobody's noticed. Every starter on Atlanta outscored her against a short-handed Lynx team. A rookie blocked her and the Dream nearly blew a 1-point lead. They had no business almost losing. Chicago's already gone, building something cleaner without the drama. And Caitlin Clark's filling buildings while Reese can't fill a 30,000-seat gym in her own city. Did the Atlanta Dream make a mistake in trading for Angel Reese? Let me know down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen and we will see you in the next. The problem for Atlanta is that this wasn't supposed to be a learning experience. This was supposed to be a statement. The Dream didn't trade for Angel Reese to become a long-term development project. They traded for her because they believed she could elevate the franchise immediately, bring national attention, create a new identity, and supposedly push this roster into real contention. That's the expectation when you give up multiple first-round picks for a player who constantly markets herself as a superstar. You don't pay superstar prices for maybe she'll figure it out eventually. You pay for production right now. And what Atlanta got in Game 1 looked nothing like a franchise-changing player. What makes this situation even more uncomfortable is that Reese's weaknesses are not hidden anymore. Defenders know exactly how to guard her. Teams are sagging off her at the perimeter because they know she doesn't want to shoot consistently from outside. They're crowding the paint because they know her handle is loose under pressure. They're timing her drives because she struggles finishing through length unless she has a completely clean angle to the basket. Minnesota exposed every single one of those flaws in real time. They didn't even need Collier to do it. They simply stayed disciplined, forced Reese into traffic, and waited for the mistakes to happen naturally. And the scary part for Atlanta fans is that these weren't isolated mistakes. These were the exact same issues people criticized during her time in Chicago. Poor touch around the rim. Forced defensive possessions. Bad spacing decisions. Turnovers when trying to create off the dribble. The Dream traded for her hoping the environment would magically change the player, but systems don't erase weaknesses overnight. If anything, they expose them faster because expectations become higher. You could even see the frustration building during stretches of the game. Atlanta's offense would flow beautifully when the ball moved side to side quickly. Canada would push pace. Howard would attack downhill. Gray would create space off movement. Hillman would crash inside. Everything looked clean and organized. Then suddenly Reese would stop the flow by holding the ball too long at the top of the key trying to force a play that wasn't there. The spacing would collapse instantly. Defenders would crowd the lane. Possessions became slower and uglier. It felt like two completely different offenses operating within the same game. That's the biggest issue with the point forward branding. A real point forward speeds the game up mentally. They see the floor before everyone else does. They create easy offense for teammates. They punish defensive rotations instantly. Think about someone like LeBron in transition or even Draymond Green during Golden State's prime years. The ball doesn't stick. The reads happen instantly. Reese right now doesn't process the floor at that level. When pressure comes, the dribble gets shaky. The decisions become delayed. And delayed decisions in professional basketball usually turn into turnovers. Atlanta can survive that occasionally if she's dominating defensively or finishing efficiently inside, but neither happened consistently in this debut. Her stat line looked busy enough to fool casual viewers scrolling social media afterward, but anyone who watched the game understood how rough the performance really was. 11 points sounds respectable until you realize how inefficient those points were. The turnovers matter. The missed layups matter. The blown possessions matter. Basketball isn't fantasy stats. The actual flow of the game tells the truth. And then there's the branding side of all this, which honestly might be hurting Reese more than helping her. Because every time she calls herself a superstar or compares herself to elite-level players, expectations rise higher and higher. Fans stop grading you like a role player and start grading you like a franchise cornerstone. That's where the backlash comes from. Nobody would be crushing a rotational rebounder for scoring 11 points in a debut. But when you spend an entire offseason promoting yourself as the face of a franchise and redefining your role as a point forward, people expect dominance. They expect visible improvement. They expect control. Instead, they watched a player who still struggles with many of the exact same problems she had as a rookie. Meanwhile, the Caitlin Clark comparison keeps getting more brutal with every passing week, and honestly, Reese's own fanbase helped create that comparison by constantly insisting the two belonged on the same level. Clark entered the league and immediately transformed the economics of women's basketball. Television ratings exploded. Arena attendance exploded. Merchandise sales exploded. Entire franchises started moving games to larger venues because demand became impossible to ignore. That's what a genuine superstar impact looks like. It changes business metrics, not just social media conversations. And it's not just about popularity. Clark's actual on-court processing speed separates her from almost everyone else in the league. Defenses panic when she crosses half-court because of her range and vision. She bends defenses in ways Reese simply doesn't. Even when Clark struggles shooting, she still controls games through playmaking and gravity. Defenders have to respect every inch of space around her. Reese doesn't command that kind of fear offensively, which makes the comparison increasingly unfair to begin with. The attendance discussion especially exposed that reality. 10,000 fans in a 19,000-seat arena for a heavily promoted debut is not catastrophic in a vacuum, but it becomes embarrassing when certain media personalities spent months talking about Reese as if she was single-handedly carrying the league's popularity alongside Clark. The numbers simply don't support that narrative. They never really did. Reese is famous online. Clark is a cultural sports phenomenon. Those are not the same thing. Social media visibility can trick people into believing popularity automatically translates into ticket sales, but professional sports history shows otherwise all the time. Plenty of athletes generate headlines and controversy without becoming true box office draws. The athletes who consistently sell arenas are usually the ones fans trust to deliver unforgettable performances. Fans buy tickets for anticipation. They want to witness greatness live. Right now, with Reese, there's more curiosity than admiration. People tune in to see what happens, but they aren't necessarily rearranging their schedules or spending hundreds of dollars to experience it in person. That distinction matters because Atlanta clearly believed Reese could become the centerpiece of a bigger business strategy. There's a reason people started talking about moving games into State Farm Arena. The Dream wanted a marketable face. They wanted attention. They wanted a rivalry narrative. They wanted national coverage. But attention becomes dangerous when performance doesn't match the hype because eventually the conversation turns from excitement into skepticism. And that skepticism is already growing rapidly around the league.